Francis O'Donnell, who is our next speaker. And Frank is a former UN official also. He was the resident coordinator, among other places, in Ukraine from 2004 to 2009. And he served also as ambassador of the Sovereign Order of Malta to Slovakia after retirement from the UN. And he has been very active also in promoting the call, among other things. Frank.
Thank you very much. You'll forgive me for being Irish, but as we're talking constitutions, my granduncle, who was a giant of a man with a very firm handshake, I still remember it was a knuckle-crunching handshake, was actually the secretary to De Valera, once our president, and was the principal co-drafter of the 1937 Irish Constitution, which is still in force. And that constitution has been credited with being one of the earliest, not necessarily the earliest, but one of the earliest that highlighted the human dignity of the individual person. And so taking it from there and to our charter, I feel a very special type of bond, my father having also served for 2 years as a UN peacekeeper. But I would like to turn to some other words of wisdom. Dag Hammarskjöld, who said, "Never look down to test the ground before taking your first step. Only he who keeps his eye fixed on the far horizon will find his right road." And then we also have Margaret Mead, who came across a broken femur bone 15,000 years ago and said, maybe somebody, since the bone had healed, there had been some care. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world, for indeed, that's all who ever have. And therefore, I have great hope that we, through our efforts, magnifying and amplifying them through others, it is extraordinary that we've had the support of 16 former presidents and 20 former prime ministers through the Club of Madrid and also the Interaction Council and a few other bodies like the Elders, most notably. So where do we go from here? And I think Jordan and Kirsten have well laid out some of the most thoughtful reflections that we should be inspired by. Let me mention that in only a few weeks from now, on the 30th of July, we have the International Day for Friendship, which came out of a 1997 General Assembly resolution, very much inspired for and towards a culture of peace, sustainable development, human rights, equality, gender equality in particular, democratization and participation, and of course, peace and security. So this is yet another benchmark date that we can have before us as we try to rally even more support moving forward towards the General Assembly, high-level segment, and eventually UN Day on the 24th of October. And my great hope is that between now and then, we will be able to mobilize enormous support, not just from leaders, but from citizens across the world, multiplying and amplifying through civic movements, and hoping that we can actually make a difference, that the leaders of the world, when they come together in the General Assembly, might make an ironclad commitment to move towards implementing Article 109 and having a general conference for the revision of the UN Charter, which has not been revised since 1971. That's a date before many of the people looking at this and possibly, hopefully participating, were even born. And it is a singular disappointment that it has not been changed since then, because we are stuck in a sclerosis with this charter when the world itself has changed enormously. Rather than the 50 countries that came together, some in Yalta and more in San Francisco, to chart out, as it were, the veto side of this, thinking they were representing the majority of people in the world because you had great empires still at play, the French and the British and so forth. Today we have 193 member states, and some of them still have the encrustations of empire, if not in their identity and nature, in their exhibition of power over others. And this has to change, because only if we can achieve some genuine, I would say, sovereign equality of nations, sovereign equality of peoples, can we ever hope to have a truly peaceful world. But we have the Constitution, We must keep it because it is the only constitution at this stage that we have for the first truly global civilization. Thank you.